Most people warm up like they're trying to politely introduce themselves to their own body. A little toe touch here, a little arm circle there, maybe a quad stretch if they're feeling adventurous. But then, boom, they expect their physiology to fire up like a V8 engine. It's cute, honestly. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Your warm up sucks, and it's not preparing you for anything except disappointment. And because you're here, I'll give you the only warm-up that probably actually works, and I'll tell you why it works, not with some surface-level increased blood flow nonsense you get from some fitness influencer who thinks ATP is a crypto coin, but with real physiology. But stay with me, because toward the end I'm going to show you how to test your own readiness so you can stop walking into your workouts like a confused tourist. The whole mythology around warm-ups is built on the fantasy that the body is this delicate, jittery instrument that needs to be coaxed into action like you're whispering to a nervous horse. People think if they stretch their hamstrings for 12 seconds, they've basically rewritten their entire neuromuscular system. They haven't. The human body does not care about your half-hearted rituals. If you give it the wrong inputs, you're going to get the wrong outputs. That's why the traditional warm-up is a graveyard of wasted minutes. None of it delivers the signals your body actually uses to ramp up performance. So here's the real question. What makes the body ready? And to answer that, we need to go straight into the systems that run the show. If that scares anyone, then you can go back to your hamstring stretches. The first system is neuromuscular priming. Now, I don't mean feeling loose, I mean the part where your motor cortex and your spinal interneurons stop loafing around and start firing efficient patterns. Your body is constantly predicting forces, velocity, joint angles, load. It does it so fast you don't even know it's happening. And the only thing that sharpens those predictions is movements that resemble the actual task you're about to do. Not gentle stretching, not lazily pedaling on a bike or a rower, task-relevant dynamic movement. The problem is most people confuse warm-ups with limbering up the tissue. Tissue's only half the story. Your nervous system determines how much force you produce, how quickly you produce it, and how well you control it. If your warm-up does not engage the circuitry, you're basically starting cold every single time. And then there's the endocrine system. Everybody's favorite system to forget about why you're stressed, tired, and wondering why their heart rate spikes when they climb upstairs. A good warm-up strategically increases your catecholamines, not stress, but readiness. Adrenaline and noradrenaline modulate your intramuscular calcium release, speed up your cross-bridge cycling, and increase the force you can generate. This is why elite athletes never start slow, they climb. Their warm-up elevates them through stages, so by the time the real work starts, their whole system is simmering just below a boil. That's performance physiology. And you can replicate that without doing anything heroic. You just have to stop doing the fitness equivalent of rubbing your eyes and calling it morning routine. But the real gem most people miss is connective tissue behavior. Fascia isn't just wrapping paper, it's a living tension network. When you start moving dynamically, fascia loads, recoils, and literally changes stiffness based on velocity and direction. You want more elasticity? The only way to get it is through movement that wakes up the fascial lines in the direction you plan to use them. Static stretching done cold is basically like bending a cold credit card and praying it doesn't snap. Dynamic movement is like gradually heating the plastic until it becomes pliable and springy. Then by the time people get through their outdated warm-up, they've done nothing to activate the rubber band system of their body, and then wonder why they feel like a refrigerator falling downstairs the second they start doing their first working set. So then, what does work? The simplest readiness sequence you'll ever see because it aligns with what your body actually cares about: joint preparation, pattern rehearsal, and nervous system ignition. Start with controlled dynamic range. Slow, intentional joint movements tracing full arcs. Your ankles, your knees, your hips, your thoracic spine, your shoulders. You're literally telling your proprioceptive system to map the territory we're about to use it. You're giving your brain a diagnostic, checking where tension is, where range is compromised, where control is sketchy. It's not glamorous, but neither is blowing out your back because your spine couldn't coordinate with your hips. I guarantee some of you have been there with that one. From there, move straight into light dynamic patterns that resemble the workout you're about to do. If you're squatting, you're doing bodyweight squats with tempo. If you're running, you're doing skips or marches. If you're pressing, you're doing scapular movement and light push patterns. Task-specific rehearsals, not general fluff that looks like you're warming up for the 5th grade PE class. And finally, ignition. Short, sharp efforts, jumps, bursts, fast reps, acceleration, tiny doses of velocity that crank up neural drive. Because your nervous system doesn't respond to politeness, it responds to urgency. When you give it a quick hit of intensity, every downstream system ramps up. Ion channel kinetics, muscle fiber recruitment, fascial recoil, cardiovascular output. This is what flips you from kinda awake to ready to execute. The best warm-up in the world is the one that makes you brutally honest about your readiness state. That's where psychology comes in. Athletes don't warm up to feel flexible. They warm up to assess themselves. They're scanning, am I coordinated today? Is my breathing stable? Are my joints moving cleanly? Does acceleration feel snappy or sluggish? A warm-up is a diagnostic. It's introspection through movement, and that involves philosophy, whether people realize it or not. How you warm up is a reflection of how you approach challenge. If you half-ass the preparation, you probably half-ass your reps. You probably half-ass the discipline, and you definitely half-ass the results. Your readiness isn't just physical, your mental and emotional systems have their own warm-up curve. Your brain doesn't instantly shift from email mode to push a sled until I question my life choices mode. The warm-up gives you time to transition, time to notice where your mind is anchored, time to direct your focus, time to let your problems stay problems instead of stowaways in your training session. If all of that sounds like woo, good. It means you need to understand what focus actually is. Regulation of your neural inhibition and excitatory pathways. It's chemistry, not affirmation. A warm-up literally guides your cognition toward a narrow, more efficient bandwidth. You are warming up to become present, not just prepare. Your mind gets to transition from spiraling thought loops to controlled mechanical tasks, and your body gets to shift from stiff, confused tissue to coordinated execution. This is why warm-ups matter, not because some influencer told you to increase circulation, but because you want your psychology, physiology, and even your personal philosophy pointed in the same direction before you demand performance. And the beauty of this whole thing is you don't need to spend 20 minutes on it. You don't need a band, you don't need a foam roller, you don't need a mobility fairy sprinkling pixie dust on your labrum. You need a simple readiness sequence: controlled joints, task rehearsal, neural ignition. 5 to 8 minutes max. Anything more is procrastination dressed up as preparation. And before you go charging off to try this later, actually run a readiness test on yourself. Rate your coordination, rate your acceleration, rate the joy your joints feel under load. Make it practice, because once you start treating the warm-up as an intelligent signal instead of pointless ritual, your entire training approach shifts. You stop being the person who hopes they perform well and you start being the person who prepares themselves to perform well. And since you're still here, do something useful with this information. If you want to go deeper into learning about your own body, like actually learning how to self-coach, audit your own training, understand your mechanics, and build autonomy, look into the Forge Grit Readiness Guide I put together. I'll teach you how to read your own signals so you're not guessing every time you train. Your body is talking all the time. It's time you stop warming up like a beginner and actually learn to listen. Now go move like you mean it.